One of the greatest gifts that we can give is to say to someone, you are not alone. One of the greatest fears that I hear people express is that they're going to be abandoned, that they're going to be forgotten, that no one will know them by name, that no one will see them, and to respect and honor and cherish them. To accompany one another is significant in the lives that we lead. No one is ever alone when we think about the Spirit of God, but people need reminders with the community around them that they are seen, that they matter, that they are cherished. And so it's not just enough to say you are not alone, but we have to find ways to enact that so that people can feel it, so that with their senses they can find that truth. So I want to ask you, whether you're comfortable or not, to turn to someone near you and say, you are not alone. Just turn to someone near you and say, you are not alone. And I wonder what it's like for you to say that to someone, maybe even to a stranger. I wonder what it's like for you to hear someone say, you are not alone. So Becca and Justin are not strangers to this idea of accompanying one another and of reminding each other that we're not alone. Becca spent years in our nursery taking care of our little ones, making sure that they knew that they were honored and cherished and that they were not alone. Justin is a firefighter and responds to emergencies all the time. He never knows what his day is going to be like because he wants to make sure that people know that they're not alone, that when there's trouble, when there are burdens, small or grand, that they will have someone to be there for them. So they live this life of being there for others, and they know that they can't do it alone, that they can't raise Peyton alone. And so they came here to give their promises, to receive your promises, to hear you say, I promise my love, support, and care. That's what you did. And so we create in this sanctuary a safe place where we remember each other, where we say to each other over and over again, you are not alone. But it's not enough because we have to do that out in the world. We have to bring this sanctuary, we have to be sanctuaries, safe places out in the world because there are people that don't know, because there are people that think they are alone. There are people who are told over and over again that they don't matter, that they don't belong, that they're not honored and cherished. People that maybe no one has said to them ever, if not ever, you are not alone. And so we have that opportunity and that responsibility to move forward. You heard us say a little bit earlier with the children's time about our 2 sacraments. So sacraments are the ways that we give shape and form. Our 5 senses come into play when we remember God's love. So we do it with water. Maybe you heard and saw the water being poured. You'll see and taste and touch and know the simple sacred meal of communion because we want it to be tangible. We want it to be like someone sitting next to us and saying, you are not alone. We want to see it. We want to hear it. We want to feel it. We want to know that we are accompanied, that we accompany each other. I think the Gospels can be summed up with one word, with, that God is with us. And that when Jesus was born, one of the names he was given was Emmanuel, which means God is with us, that we are accompanied, we are not alone, that God walks with us, that God is around us, that God is deep within us, that God sees us and knows us and cherishes us. I met a young woman this week whose name was Alicia, and Alicia told me that when she was growing up in her immigrant family, they had a little saying that went like this: we are wanted, not welcomed. We are wanted, not welcomed. Keep playing that over in your mind. We are wanted as an immigrant family. We are not welcomed. But we have made promises here again today when we said to Peyton and to Justin and to Becca we promise our love, support, and care. And we carry that spirit into the future, and we carry that spirit out into the world. The other day, one of our young adults, who is about to be married later this month, sent me an invitation to an event that was happening Friday. I already knew about it. I had already registered, but I was so pleased that he sent me the invitation because he knew that I would want to see it. And he didn't want me to move further into the week without knowing that I was invited to this event that was titled, "Who Will Protect the Children?" It didn't matter to me what the subtitle was, who was going to be there. They had me there. Who will protect the children? And it was an event for faith leaders, interfaith leaders around St. Louis. And the intention was to speak up about the way that our kids are not being treated well. And one of the things that was sent to me was a photograph of a young girl. She looks like she's probably late elementary school. You can't see her face because her hood is over her face. But she's holding a sign that says, "I should not be afraid of losing my parents." I should not be afraid of losing my parents. So this event was to be in solidarity with Minneapolis and to think about the ways that families are being torn apart and to think about how children are being tear gassed, how children are being used as bait, how children are seeing their parents ripped away from them in the carpool line going to school or coming out of school after the school day is over. And I was thinking about Peyton because she was supposed to be baptized last Sunday, but last Sunday didn't quite work out the way any of us had expected. And so I was carrying that all week, thinking about Peyton and our responsibilities for her and the promises that we're going to make, and thinking about kids that I'll never know, like Liam, and there's a little hat that looks like his hat with the ears over there on the table. And I was thinking about Clara, who is a little girl in our church who had eye surgery this week. And I'm thinking about Jaden, who's Diane Bro's grandson, who was born with some challenges and had some surgeries and visited the pulmonologist and visited a cardiologist. He was born on December 8th. And I was thinking about this Alicia who said that she was wanted, not welcomed. And I was reminded of the call that we receive from a Jesus who looks like that, perhaps in our minds and spirits and bodies, and we are meant to encourage each other. And so some of the stories that flowed on Friday afternoon at this event came from Minneapolis, because a couple of our clergy in the area went to Minneapolis last week. They were there when people representing churches and religious traditions were arrested. And one of them told a story about how they had some clandestine meetings, the clergy in Minneapolis, because they had to be underground. Just like some of the schools right now in Minneapolis are underground, so that kids who are not feeling safe, families who are not feeling safe, are still having their kids receive some education in these quiet underground places. And so the story from one of the pastors was that another pastor that they sat with and kneeled with on the ground in the negative 20-degree weather and marched with told a story about how they were on their way to one of these locked meetings. And they got a call from a church member who recently had a baby who was pumping some extra breast milk because of the kids in Minneapolis whose mothers have disappeared, who need to have some breast milk, who need to be nurtured, who need to remember that they're not alone, and that with our bodies, with our minds, with our spirits, we can be there for each other. And so today's lectionary reading that lots of Christians are sharing are the Beatitudes. And I often have heard the Beatitudes over the years and think about them as being gentle, right? Because they start out talking about meek and poor in spirit and mourning and being hungry and thirsty and merciful and peacemakers. And somehow that always has made me feel like we're supposed to be kind of quiet. We're supposed to be kind of gentle and reserved. But what happens at the end of the Beatitudes is it says that blessed are those who are persecuted. Blessed are those when people revile you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely. So there's chaos and there's action there. But I think somehow we've convinced ourselves that we need to be gentle and quiet. This is not a time to be gentle and quiet. This is a time to be loving. This is a time, as always, to be respectful, but as a time to stand up and speak up and say to others, you are not alone. And to say that what my faith does is move me toward people who are afraid, people who are going to school underground, people who are pumping breast milk for other kids because their mothers are no longer with them. Lots of things happened in that 1 hour meeting the other day, but we were given, as we left, some cards, of course, and some invitations to future events, and you'll hear about them from us. Perhaps you will come out on President's Day and walk on the MLK Bridge in St. Louis, or maybe you'll go to an event put on by the Micah Project that will take place on the 21st of this month. That will help train people in accompanying and in offering strength to each other and in saying to all people, you are not alone, living out of these beatitudes, living this gentleness and living this strength. And so this prayer from one of the cards that was given out is the compa prayer, and compa means friend or buddy or pal in Spanish. And it says, Dear God of our journeys, thank you for your care, comfort, and deep abiding love. Remind us that we are not alone. As we walk with each other, you are ever present as our most precious companion. Help us travel safely and arrive safely at our destinations. For those making decisions, we ask for a fair and just process. We pray for guidance, strength, and a powerful outcome. When fear invades our hearts, fill us with love and faith. Help us love even those who hate us. Walk with us. Stay with us as we journey in hope to you, our true home, where every tear will be wiped away and where we will be at peace and safe in your embrace. In the name of God the Creator, Jesus the Christ, and the Holy Spirit of love. So we are doing a rare thing today in celebrating 2 of our sacraments because we only have 2. If there was a third in the United Church of Christ, we say it would be foot washing. Aren't you relieved that we only have 2? Because foot washing would really help us to know that we're not alone, would really get us living out that promise to each other. And so we come closer to this table, still feeling and hearing the waters of baptism, knowing that there's nothing that we need to do to receive this grace. Peyton wasn't able to tell us about her faith. Peyton wasn't able to run downstairs with Sunday school and learn. She comes fresh. She doesn't have to do anything to receive this love. And when we come to this table, it's the same way. It's an open table. We don't have prerequisites, and we don't say you have to believe this or do this first. You just come because you're hungry and you recognize that you have a need for nurture and strength and to know that you belong, to know that you're not alone. And so we all gather around the table because God says, I love you and I see you, and you need nurture and you need strength and you need to be there for each other and you need to build and repair and sustain community. We have work to do. And so come to this table to receive, and come as we sing our communion song, Come Share the Lord.